Welcome to the Mathology Overview video. Your WCDSB math consultants, Sarah and
Gianluca.
are going to walk you through some of the features of Mathology. So you can find Mathology if you have the math tools on D2L, or you can just type mathology.ca into the address bar on the internet. And that's going to take you here to the landing page. If you're not signed in the background, Gianluca signed in here, so it automatically took me here. You might have to sign in with your email and password. Once you're in, just double check that you're associated with the correct school. So if you click on your name and go to profile, it'll say what school name you're with here. Gianluca's not at a specific school, so there's nothing there. But on yours, you want to check that your school is there. If it's not, you can go to edit and put the school in there yourself. All right, we're going to go back and I'm going to show you where you can find the plans in Mathology. Where is all the content that you need to teach whatever grade or grades you're teaching? So you're going to go to plan up here and all plans. There are my plans, which are ones you've created. So if you haven't created a plan yet, you might not have anything in here. And then there's sample plans. So click on sample plans. These are the plans that Mathology has created and put into their program. So we're going to take a look at grade 5 today. And there are, for all the grades, there are two options. They have the grades, the lessons organized by unit and by topic. So we're going to go to grade 5 sample plan by unit first. I'm going to show you that one. And that just has all of your topics organized like in a traditional unit. So there's a unit on patterning and algebra that you would do in September, but it focuses just on patterning. And then there's another unit in January that does patterning and algebra again, but focuses on variables and equations. So if you want to follow this, having it done by traditional units, you can. Or if you want something that is more closely aligned with the long-range plans that the Ministry of Education put out when the new curriculum was released in 2020, you can select sample plan by topic. So they have the larger groupings and by like a couple months at a time. So in September and October, you'd be going through these lesson clusters. Okay, that's what we call them here. So we're going to work off this sample plan by topic, but we're going to make a copy for ourselves. Making a copy allows you to edit, make changes of the order of things, allows you to put in some of your own lessons if you've got resources from something else that you want to use. So we're going to select make a copy, and we're going to call this, for our purposes, Mathology Training Plan. You might want to call yours like whatever your name is, whatever the school year is, plan, something like that, something that you'll be able to know which one it is. Okay, so we create a copy. This will now show up under my plans if I go up here to plans, but I also want to show you how you can pin it. So if we just go back to where all the plans are and click on my plans, and we'll find that Mathology training plan we just created, and we're going to pin it. This is going to have it show up on the home page. So this landing page that you get to every time you go into Mathology, just scroll down a little bit and anything that you pin will show up here. So really quick access to the current plan that you're working off of. Once you're in here, you can rearrange the order of the lesson clusters or units, however you want to define them, by just dragging and dropping. So if you're like, I want to do this number like fluency stuff before doing patterning, you can grab the patterning and just move it down. Okay, so you can change the order of that. And then within each unit or lesson cluster, you can change the order of the units. So maybe I want to do this estimating to solve problems first before comparing large numbers, so I can drag it and drop it. If it doesn't work nicely, we can also use these arrows here to help us move lessons around. The other thing that you can do when you make a copy is you can add resources outside of Mathology. So maybe you want to add something from TVO or from Knowledge Hook. I'm going to add something today from Ontario Math Supports. So I'm going to scroll down here, add a non-Mathology lesson, and I just have to put the link in. So I'm going to go to Ontario Math Supports, and I'm going to find a grade 5 lesson on coding. So I'm going to go to coding. I've tried before when I click on grade 5, it doesn't filter by just grade 5. So we're going to scroll down. And we're going to do this recalling math facts through coding. So I'm going to right click on it so I can copy the link address. And then I'm going to put that into my Mathology plan. I'm going to call this Ontario Math Supports Coding Lesson. I need to tell Mathology that I'm adding in a URL. And then if you want, you don't have to do this, but if you want to reference what that lesson is about, you could just grab this description and copy it over in there. And then we save it and we're going to see it show up here. Gianluca's got some other ones in here. So there's a whole bunch in here, but this is the one that we just added, and we want to put it into our lesson cluster. So we just move it over. And then if we want to change the order, we can just click around to change the order that that lesson shows up. So maybe we want it to be a couple lessons in before we do that one. And then it'll be saved there for the future when you're teaching this class again. Okay, so I'm going to pass it over to Gianluca, who's going to show you how you can use some other tools in Mathology.
Okay, so at the top of the long-range plan, there are the interactive tools. So in the grade 5 to 9 menu, these are the tools here. And when you get to this page, you can copy the URL at the top and you can put it into your D2L page so your students can have access to these tools. Okay, this is an open URL, so all you have to do is give it to them and they'll have access to the tools. Now, some interesting tools, I'll kind of show you one from each menu. So from the 5 to 9 are the fraction relationships. So this tool here will compare fractions, decimals, and percentages all on the number line shown below. Okay, so let's start with fractions. Okay, here we're just going to create 2/3, and you see it appear on the number line. Then you're going to check off this box to create another bar. This time the bar will be decimals. And we'll do, let's say, 4/10. And then check off the third box for the third bar, which will be percentages. And we'll do 80%. Okay, so as you can see, all three are on the number line, and the students can compare which one is bigger with respect to the other two. Okay, so if we go back to the top here, we can switch to the K to 4 menu. And if we scroll down to the geometry exploring objects tool, here you have your 3D shapes. So you have your prisms, you have your pyramids, and here you have your cylinder, cone, and sphere. I'm just going to go back to the prisms and grab a cube. Here you can move the cube up and down. Okay. Or you can move it side to side, and this will allow the students to count vertices and edges. If you click on the scissors, it'll open up the shape and into its net, where the students can count the faces. This could also be used for higher grades when they're doing surface area. Okay. And then you grab the glue, touch the net, and it'll go back into the cube. Okay. There are lots of tools that will definitely support student learning. So just take some time and explore these tools on your own. Okay. The other thing I want to show you in this video is the assessment tab. So when we go into a lesson cluster, I'm just going to select a lesson because they're all structured the same way. You have your About tab, your Lesson tab, the Assessment tab, and then your Next Steps. The other tabs will be talked about either in the primary video or the junior intermediate video, okay, because they're slightly different. The assessment tab, however, is the same from grade 1 to grade 8. Okay, so this is the digital version. Okay, and what this is a progression. Okay, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here. This last section is where the student is meeting the provincial expectation. Okay, so what you would need to do is put your students in this box up here at the top. And in order to do that, you would go to your, click on your name, you would go to student management. And here you would just add your student. So let's just call it Janet Smith. And it'll be grade 5. Add student. And this will appear right away on the assessment window. There's Janet. So let's say after you've observed Janet in the Minds On, in the action, you notice that she falls here, where she represents 5-digit numbers on the place value chart and decomposes it in one way. What you can do is you can click on the next step and you can ask a next step in the moment. So you can ask Janet, how can you read the numbers in another way? So you prompt the student to see the relationship among place value positions. If Janet is able to communicate this, then you can move Janet to the next part of the continuum, like so. And you can also ask her this next step in the moment. Okay. If she is not able to answer this one, you would just uh, leave her there. And then once you go through a few other students, if they start to kind of form a group in this section, then that would be a small group that you can then work with. Okay. If you uh, prefer a paper copy, you would find it on in the lesson tab under assessment, and you can open it in PDF or Word. If you open it in Word, you're able to edit it. And then here you can just make your observational notes as you're observing and conversing with students. Okay. This is it for the overview. To learn more about the lesson tab and how to use Mathology in your everyday teaching, check out the primary or junior intermediate videos.
Thanks for watching. That's it for now. And remember,
From zero to infinity, we've got your math journey covered.